Hello, and welcome back to my series on the other capitals a startup needs to enable him or her start his business beside money. Now, this is part 6 of the series, which of course is the last, although it's not entirely the last, but because our focus here is specifically on new startups, right? I will not want to go into intellectual capital, which of course has to do with the company itself, but on that grounds, it's assumed that the company is actually running now and is in existence. So at this time, we are focusing first on entrepreneurs, new startups. So now this is the last, which of course is the financial capital. Now, we all know that with the financial capital here talks more about money, right? Which of course is the various forms of money and financial resources such as wages, savings, remittances, income, royalties, rent, and what have you, right? Now, I'm going to discuss with us in a different perspective, right? I know in one of my videos, which I talked about how I raised capital to start my bakery, I'm going to share a bit of the what I did, then to raise my capital. Now, what I will advise you as a new entrepreneur is this: please do not venture into borrowing. Do not go into borrowing. Do not borrow. Do not borrow. Not from the bank, not from anybody. Let them gratis you. Let them give it to you freely. Do not borrow. Because you are getting into the business. Even if you have learned it somewhere, even if you've been trained, even if you have acquired a skill for more than 10 years, do not borrow. Do not borrow. We are going to talk about the steps on how you can raise this money before you eventually go into it as a sole proprietorship, a sole entrepreneur, okay? Do not plan to borrow, please. It is not the ideal process. It is not the best way. You're already, the business you want to go into is a risk of its own. Now you now want to add more risk on it, right? Peradventure, you've not experienced what we call high BP. So just sit with me as I share with you what I did that helped me. And if you adopt that, I believe it will also help you. Now, this is it. You want to start up a business, either service-related business or sales-related business, or both of them combined, right? The day you plan to venture out is not the day you plan to start a business. You must have planned to start this business some years back. So the day you made up your mind to start a business, from that day you should have planned how to raise the money. You should have planned on savings, especially if it has to do with buying and selling, right? If it has to do with buying and selling, you should have planned that. Now, let me focus a little on buying and selling. You want to go into the business of buying and selling as in trade, right? The first thing you need to do is list out everything you want to sell. I will encourage you starting small. List them out. Items you know you can easily afford to buy and sell. Not expensive items that will need you to owe. No. Like I said, you are starting this business alone now. You are not working for somebody. You are accountable to yourself. So the risk you are going to take is you and you alone. So make your risk very lean. Let your learning curve be lean. Let your risk be lean. That's why I said start with small items, right? Now, also there are there are products that based on knowledge, based on trust, based on trust, you go to the whole distributors, you buy, you deposit some form with them, you buy. First, they'll ask you to buy a whole, and then you go and sell. You go back to them again. Now, when you do that consistently, they start building trust in you. So it will get to a point they will give you more than you paid. You see that? They give you more than you paid. Maybe you paid for a good word 200,000. They'll give you, you pay 100,000, and they will give you additional 100,000 worth of goods. What? On trust. Why? Because you've been buying and paying, buying. You come back to them. They've known you, right? So they've given you additional 100,000 worth of good, but you only paid 100,000. So you have 200,000 naira worth of good. Trust at this time. What you need now is trust. To trust yourself that you're going to sell these items and return back the money for this company, right? They also need to trust you. You need to let go a number of things that will take away that proceed, especially defy every form of gratification. Defy every form of gratification, right? Any and everything that will cause you to spend that money, throw it behind you, right? So you do this, you see that you started building what? Your capital. You had 100,000. Now you are giving more goods worth 100,000. So you have 100,000 naira worth of goods, which means you make a full 100,000 naira, a profit on 100,000, and a profit on your own. Adding it together, you can imagine adding it together. You go back to them again. Maybe this time you pay 200,000 naira for 200,000 worth of goods. They can even give you additional 100 again or additional 200. You are building what? Your capital on trust. Do you see that? So, you started with what you had. You started with what you had. There are businesses that are willing. All they want to know is maybe your shop, your location. Where do you do your business? They will do their KYC with you, just to understand you more, just to trust you more, right? Now, this is just one aspect. There are tons of other ways you can get this thing done for sales business. Now, for service-related kind of business, you really don't go into buying and selling. All you need to do is build your skill. Be valuable. Be valuable so that you can offer real value services, irrespective of the kind of business you want to do. For example, when I began, I started area of IT, everything IT, really excluding, I did more of software related, 70% software related and 30% hardware related, right? Because I studied computer science in school. Now, I was into graphics, I was into software, I was into web, I was into all kinds of software related services, right? But my core then was more of software development, right? But in order to make sure I offer comprehensive service to my client, I had to also digress into other areas, right? To make sure they have a complete solution from me. Now, when it comes to hardware, whichever one I cannot provide, like selling, I leverage on my friend whose focus is on hardware. I did a bit of repair, I did a bit of maintenance, I did a bit of training. Now, these were all the services I was offering, and I was diligent in this service. I offered it with a lot of value-added services to ensure I remain relevant to my customers, right? And you know what? I had no billboard around me. Now, how did I gain these customers? By referral. I satisfy you, you refer me to someone else. I satisfy that one, he or she refer me to somewhere else. until I had a very large network of customers. So I had enough, and yet it was still growing. My customer service relationship was far so good that I became almost like indispensable to them, right? So what am I talking about? I began growing, saving my revenue as they pay for the services. I save it. As they pay, I save it. Because, like I said, when I talked about my bakery, remember, I didn't have money as when I conceived the idea. But when I conceived the idea, what did I do? I laid down everything I would need to start that bakery. I laid down everything I need to start it. As in all the research I would need. I did my research. I did my fact findings. I did my visibility study. I asked a lot of questions, right? Like I said, I laid down all the items that we needed to start the bakery and all the product that we produced, right? Because I had money coming in, and it won't be a thing of procrastination to say I want to go into a bakery and I'm not ready. So I did that. And with my savings, I was able to do what? Buy all the equipment I needed for my bakery. So I said it again, I didn't borrow. I therefore discourage you from borrowing. I discourage you from borrowing. As I said, if you want to go into sales, save whatever. If you're working somewhere, begin to save. List all the items you want to sell. Like I said, make them little so that you don't get into so much. List them, do your budgeting. Of course, what I mean list them is do your budgeting, right? Affix your cost to them. Now when you buy, now put the actual cost, get the variance. My proposed, my actual, this is my variance, either positive or negative. At the end, you know what you saved, or if you lost in actual, but the important thing that you have started. And then you also prepare what we call your cash flow using Excel, right? But in this modern day, I have a software called BizRun 2. You use that to prepare your cash flow, do your budgeting, use that to do your budgeting, prepare your cash flow, plan your payback analysis, and the system will do all the rest for you. bizrun2.com. Just go online and you'll see it. Now, with that tool, you'll be able to capture everything you bought, your selling price, your cost price, of course, with the COS. Now, the system at the end of each month will tell you your proceed and your loss, depending. Now, by the time you do all the deductions, of course, you're deducting your COS, which is cost of sale, from your proceed, and your expenses, and maybe returns or loss or damages, right? And then you have your net, right? But it's important you have a budget list. It's important you have a cash flow system from which you will use to monitor your revenue. If not, putting them on paper is not enough. Peradventure, water pours on the paper, your entire thing is gone. Peradventure, rodent eats up the paper, everything is gone. Or maybe a kid comes in and, so that is more risky, right? So the important thing here is put on paper. When I mean on paper, paper here means system or solution as well, or software. Write it down, budget, know how much you will need for that business, and then start with what you have and grow it. Build trust on the people you buy from. When you build trust, they will give you upfront, you sell, you return. Now, for service, offer the service, you get money, and then you save, you buy, and then you start. So that is the easy way. When you've understood your business, you've understood the risk involved, then you can now start taking loan if you must. And let your loan be focused on your business. Your loan should not be for clothing, your loan should not be for a car, but no, let it be on only solely for your business, right? I'm sure with all of this, I've made an impact in your life with regards to your business. Okay, so if you appreciate it, then please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because I have tons of videos coming up in the future, in the videos from now. Okay, and I'll be glad you are notified about the video. That can only happen if and when you subscribe. See you in the future. Thank you and remain blessed.